Welcome back, everybody. We're diving back into The Great Gatsby. This time it's part 5, definitely where things get really interesting.
Yeah, picking up after Myrtle's death, the illusion of Gatsby's perfect life starts to really fall apart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder just how much of it was an illusion to begin with, right?
Right.
Like, we know he built himself up from nothing, reinvented himself as Jay Gatsby,
Yeah.
But, Bobby makes a good point about how this all ties into the American dream, too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like that classic rags to riches story, anyone can make it in America.
Yeah.
But Fitzgerald, he seems to be questioning that narrative, showing us what might be kind of hollow underneath it all.
Right. And think about how Gatsby created this whole persona, this image of wealth and sophistication, all to win back Daisy, right? It's almost as if he's playing a part, putting on this mask for everyone.
Yeah. Bob even uses that Superman analogy, Like Daisy's in love with the idea of Gatsby, this powerful, mysterious figure, not really Gatsby the man himself.
Yeah. That's such it's a great comparison. Makes you think, do we all do that to some extent,
For sure.
Like, think about how you present yourself on social media or even at a job interview. Are we all just putting on different versions of ourselves for everybody?
I mean, it's something to think about, right?
Yeah.
And with Gatsby, this made-up persona ultimately leads to tragedy. Like, he's so focused on this image, winning over Daisy, that he loses sight of who he really is.
Yeah. And that brings us to that, that big turning point in part 5, the car crash. Fitzgerald really plays with what we expect to happen here. He's dropped all these hints throughout the book about what the car might represent,
Yeah.
And suddenly, bam! It's this weapon, this tool of destruction.
It is. And it's interesting, too, how Fitzgerald, he controls what we know. At first, we think Gatsby was driving. Yeah. It's not till later that we find out Daisy was the one behind the wheel. Oh, totally.
Bobby actually calls it textual misdirection. And he brings up that example from Understanding Comics.
Right.
To show how creators can really play with how we understand events as they're happening.
That is such a cool connection to comics, too, because you're right. Fitzgerald is using language almost to trick us, building this suspense, and then bam, the truth comes out.
Yeah, and it changes everything about how we see Daisy, too. She's not just a passive character.
Right.
She's part of this tragedy now.
Yeah.
Makes her a lot more complex, even morally.
Totally. It makes you ask, how much control did Daisy really have? I mean, she's stuck in this loveless marriage, longing for a connection that maybe Gatsby can't really give her.
Right. It's really interesting to consider.
Yeah.
And as for Gatsby himself, I mean, this tragedy makes us look closer at his past.
Yeah.
His motivations. We finally find out the truth about his beginnings as James Gatz, meeting Dan Cody, and then, how carefully he created this persona of Jay Gatsby. It is kind of heartbreaking to see, how far he went to reinvent himself.
Yeah.
All for Daisy. And it's like Bobby pointed out, there's a sad irony to it. Daisy fell for the illusion, not the man.
Right. And that disconnect between what's real and what we imagine runs through the whole book.
Yeah.
Gatsby built his life on this illusion, and now it's falling apart all around him.
Yeah. It really does. Yeah. It really makes you think about the whole American dream thing, right?
Yeah. For sure.
Is it all like a fake? Are we all just chasing these illusions? Yeah.
It's a question Fitzgerald seems to be asking too,
Right.
And it's not just about money or status. It's also about that wanting to connect, that love that can go beyond time and what's happened.
Yeah.
Gatsby believed he could just get the past back, but we see it doesn't really work like that.
Right. And that feeling of wanting something so bad but never being able to get it. It's kind of like that green light at the end of Daisy's dock. That symbol.
Yeah.
It represents all of Gatsby's hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
His longing to be with Daisy.
Exactly. And Bobby argues that it's actually more than just Gatsby's personal wants,
Right.
He sees it as the symbol of the American dream itself, that promise of happiness and fulfillment that's always just out of reach.
It's like we're all drawn to that light. Right?
Yeah.
Whether it's money or success or love even. But what happens when we get there? Or realize we never can?
That's where the tragedy comes in, right?
Yeah.
Gatsby, I mean, he built his entire life trying to reach this dream. And when it all falls apart, he's just left with nothing.
And that emptiness, it's like really shown when Gatsby dies.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even just the death itself. It's how everyone reacts or doesn't react,
Exactly. Think about all those big parties, all those people at his mansion.
Yeah.
But when he dies, He's totally alone. It's like a reminder of how fake the Roaring Twenties really was.
Yeah.
All that excess and fleeting connection.
Right. Bobby actually compares it to the funeral and death of a salesman.
Oh, yeah.
Another American tragedy. It's like Willie Loman and Jay Gatsby, they're both just forgotten in the end. Their lives don't seem to mean anything.
Yeah, it's a bleak outlook, but it makes you ask, what do we leave behind? You know, what defines us, what we've done, the stuff we have, or the people we've connected with.
And in this day and age, you know, with all the social media and everyone creating these online personas.
Right, right.
Are we any different than those people Fitzgerald was talking about 100 years ago?
It's something to think about. And, you know, speaking of facing hard truths, we can't forget about Tom Buchanan's role in all this.
Yeah. The biggest hypocrite.
Yeah.
Cheating on Daisy, throwing his money around. Mm-hmm. But he's the one who acts like Gatsby's the bad guy.
Right. Calling him a liar, a cheat. It's unbelievable.
And then he admits it.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
He told George Wilson about Gatsby's car.
Basically, you know, he sealed Gatsby's fate.
It's rough. You know, Tom's been reckless all this time.
Right.
And he gets away with it. While Gatsby, who truly loved Daisy, ends up, you know,
paying the price. It's like society rewards the people at the top and punishes anyone who tries to, like, move up.
And it all comes back to that American dream idea, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Is it real for everyone, or is it just a game that's rigged from the start?
That's a question that, you know, really hits home today with everything that's happening, you know. The rich getting richer.
Right.
Fitzgerald seems to be saying that the American dream, the way we see it, is dangerous. That it can actually hurt us.
Yeah. It's like Gatsby's whole story is like a warning about going after the wrong things in life. So then what are the right things? What should we even be, like, aiming for?
That's the question, isn't it? And Fitzgerald, I think he gives us some hints. In the last part of the book, he talks about how we're all boats against the current, you know, like we're always being pulled back into the past.
That's such a powerful image. It's like we're trying to move forward, achieve our goals, but something's always holding us back.
Yeah.
Our past or what society expects or just like life itself.
Exactly. And Gatsby, I mean, for all his, you know, his faults, he represents that fight, that refusal to let the past limit him. Mm-hmm. But his mistake was thinking he could literally just go back, you know, erase everything that happened and be with Daisy again, like nothing changed.
It's like he was trying to, like, freeze time.
Yeah.
Hold on to that one perfect moment forever.
Right. And Bobby says time just keeps going, whether we like it or not, no matter how much we wish things were different.
Right. And that brings us back to that green light image. Mm-hmm. It's not just about Gatsby's dream. Right. Maybe it's about all of us wanting something more, something beyond just, like, the stuff we have.
It could be. Yeah. And it's interesting. Bobby makes this connection to our own, you know, obsession with stuff, with being rich. Mm-hmm. Like, why do we want these things so bad? Even though they don't really make us happy.
That's so true. And, you know, in our time, with everyone buying so much stuff, wanting to be, like, famous and everything.
Right.
Are we any different?
I don't know. And if we're not careful, we might end up like Gatsby. Yeah. You know, giving up everything for a dream that leaves us empty.
So what can we learn from all this? From Gatsby's mistakes, I mean.
Yeah.
How do we avoid that same trap?
I think we got to start by being honest with ourselves about what we really care about. You know, are we chasing what other people think? Or are we looking for what truly makes us happy?
That's deep.
Yeah.
And are we being real, you know? Yeah. Or are we just trying to be someone we're not?
Exactly. And maybe it's also about realizing that happiness isn't like a finish line, you know? It's the whole journey. It's finding those little moments, those everyday connections, you know, those simple acts of kindness.
That's good. Yeah. It's like appreciating what we have now.
Yeah.
Instead of always reaching for something that might not even be real.
Right. You know, this deep dive into Gatsby has been really thought-provoking.
Yeah.
It's made me think about what I want, what I believe in, and what I want to leave behind, you know?
And that's what great books do, right?
Yeah. They make us look at ourselves, face the hard stuff, and try to be better.
If Gatsby's story is a warning, it also shows us that we can choose something different, right?
Right.
We can choose to be real, connect with people, and find meaning in what truly matters.
And like Fitzgerald said, you know, we might always be pulled back to the past, but we can still steer ourselves in a new direction.
It's a powerful message. One I'm definitely going to think about. And for all of you listening, I encourage you to, read Gatsby again.
Yeah.
With a fresh perspective. Pay attention to the details, the symbolism, how complex the characters are. You might be surprised what you find.
Definitely. And until next time, keep searching, keep asking questions, keep diving deep.
All right. See you, everyone.